gentlemen, we are going to call the Common Council to order. I'm going to ask our clerk to call the roll to determine a quorum.
Here. 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 Here.
Here. We have a quorum. Our Pledge of Allegiance this evening was supposed to be led by Alderman Dan Rote. However, he has graciously yielded his time to Troop 580 from Mount Hope Lutheran, and they are led by Scoutmaster Dave Lucen. Please rise and join us in the pledge.
Color guards present the colors. I'm going to explain the meaning of the pledge. As I say the words to the Pledge of Allegiance, repeat them silently to yourself. And salute 1. I pledge 2. You may join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
As the founding fathers pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to a new nation, so do we pledge our devotion and our loyalty
To the flag of the United States of America,
an honored symbol of our nation's unity, its hopes, achievements, glory, and high resolve. Red for courage, white for purity, and blue for vigilance, perseverance, and justice.
and to the republic for which it stands,
Where sovereign power resides in a body elected by, representatives of, and responsible to the nation's citizens.
one nation under God,
From the Atlantic to the Pacific, from Canada to Mexico, high mountains, wide prairies, great cities, and tiny villages, vast ranches and small farms. We are united as one, under one, to whom we turn for guidance, whose blessings we ask, and who watches over us as individual citizens and collectively as a nation. For his spirit, America was founded.
indivisible,
The citizens of this great country come from different racial backgrounds, having different traditions, and often worship in different houses. Because the people of America are so varied, so diverse, and so rich in heritage, the whole of the nation is far greater than the sum of its parts, and we stand together to face the world.
with liberty and justice for all.
We have both the right of freedom and the responsibility to respect and protect the freedom of others. From revolutionary times to the present day, men have defended our flag with their blood and with their lives. Our flag is a symbol of the people, all the people, us, the people of the United States of America. So if everybody will please face the flag, and let's repeat the pledge as a group. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guard post the colors. Audience may be seated.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have 3 items for public hearing this evening. I'll ask the clerk to read public hearing number 1.
Resolution to confirm and adopt the report of the city engineer containing the schedule of proposed assessments for improvement of the general area bounded by South 84th Street to I-894 and North City limits to Union Pacific Railroad by miscellaneous replacement or repair of concrete sidewalk and driveways at selected locations.
Mr. Daniels.
Thank you, Mayor Devine. Okay, this is the public hearing for the sidewalk repair. Here are the procedures for tonight. I'll go through the project scope and cost. We'll discuss assessment rates, methods of payment. Then we'll have a time for comments and questions from the council and then from citizens affected. Then the public hearing will be closed and the project will be referred to the Public Works Committee for discussion, and then it will come back here later tonight for a final vote and decision. So here are the project limits. We're going from the North Corporate limits to the Union Pacific Railroad, from 84th Street to I-894. There was a typo on the notice that we said Greenfield, but actually we are going all the way to the Union Pacific Railroad. Here's the type of things that we're trying to correct. Slabs that are badly cracked or misplaced or settled or heaved, creating trippers. Anything that would be unsafe for people to walk or bike or push a carriage. Here's the process. It's fairly simple. Only takes about 3 days to accomplish. They take the old concrete out. They put the forms in. They pour the concrete. They finish it, and then they'll come back at the end and they'll put the new sod in along the edges when they take the forms out. So it's a very quick process in front of each home. Should only take a few days. Here are some of the benefits of the project. Any broken, raised, or settled sidewalk slabs that create hazards for pedestrians would be eliminated. Property owners would benefit since the sidewalks would be easier to shovel and not heaved. They are easier to keep the ice free since they wouldn't be settled. The city also would avoid costly lawsuits that lead to caused from injuries resulting from defective sidewalk. We did inspect 2,460 properties, and we found 560 properties that did need sidewalk repair. So the total cost of those 560 properties is $205,000. The last time that we've actually inspected this area was 1999, so it's been 20 years since we last looked at this neighborhood. The project would include several sustainability benefits. The gravel used to be 100% recycled. Crushed concrete from old pavements. The concrete would have fly ash in it to reduce the need for new cement by 30%. Any asphalt that we're putting down would also be recycled. So we are recycling and reusing materials. The bills for this would not actually be mailed out until March of 2020, not 2019, but 2020. And we do have several payment options, including a lump sum if it's under $100, 5-year plan if you're between $100 and $250, and then a 10-year plan if your payment is over $250. So if you had a $250 bill over a 10-year period with the 4% interest, the first year would be $35 and the 10th year would be $26 for the whole year. So why do we special assess? Well, we've been doing it for over 110 years. In the old days, people actually paid 100%, the full cost of any street or alley or sidewalk in front of their property. On this project, the city's collecting $75,000, so that's about 37% of the total cost. The city general fund is paying the rest. The assessment rate is $3.23 per square foot for any residential property anywhere in the city. Doesn't matter where you live. Doesn't matter how high the actual bid prices are. Everybody pays the same rate, $3.23, so everyone is treated equally. The Wisconsin state law has allowed for special assessments for over 100 years, and there have been over 100 court cases that have upheld this law as a fair and reasonable way of recouping the cost for these benefits that are right in front of your property. Another reason we special assess is that there are so many properties that do not pay property taxes. Special assessments are the only way to ensure that tax-exempt schools and churches and charities and hospitals and county parks, utilities, railroads pay their fair share too. No one is exempt from special assessments, even though 430 properties in the city do not pay any property taxes. So many tax-exempt schools, churches, hospitals, county parks are very large properties. They have a lot of sidewalk next to them. They actually encompass about 28% of the city, and the only time they contribute to the city's costs is through these special assessments. Any businesses, corporations, or manufacturers pay a higher assessment rate to ensure that they contribute their fair share, so their rate is actually $4.04 up to $4.84 per foot. This is a map that shows all those properties that I was just mentioning, the 430 properties that are tax exempt. All these shaded areas, they do encompass about 28% of the city. Special assessments are, like I said, the only thing that they often pay for towards the city's expenses. And then this is a map of everyone who's had to pay a special assessment in the last 10 years. And you can see all the different colors are different places, different years where people have had to pay a special assessment. So almost everyone, at least on the east half of the city, has had to pay a special assessment in the last 10 years alone. And if you go back 50 years, then it's really 100% of the properties have had to pay a special assessment. The reason for the 4% interest rate is that the city does borrow the funds for this project. So the city has to pay interest to those municipal bondholders over the next 10 years. The city is merely passing along these interest charges to any residents that choose the 5 or the 10-year plan. The city does not make a profit off the interest charged. And that's it. If there's any comments or questions, I would entertain them now.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Are there any comments or questions from the members of the Common Council on this item?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman May.
Pete, you had mentioned that the notice that had gone out said the southern limit was Greenfield. Was everyone south of Greenfield notified, and was the
Yes.
notice corrected to say the UPRR?
Yes, yes. Everyone got a letter
Correct.
south of Greenfield as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the Common Council? Seeing none, are there any members of the audience that have comments or questions on this item? You could come up to the microphone and please give us your name and address for our record, please.
Should I sign in before I start?
It's up to you. Either way works. If you can do both at the same time, we get really impressed.
Great. I'm not sure what your name is, but I do live south of Greenfield, and I never received notice. So that was one reason that I was here, is because the last notice that I received said it only went from Greenfield to Schlinger, and I haven't received any notice since then.
I'm sorry, can you give us your name and address verbally?
Oh,
also?
I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
My name is Rebecca Wade, and my address is 1547 South 93rd Street.
Thank you.
I apologize.
No worries.
Did you receive an estimate?
I did receive an estimate, and I'm a little curious about it, and whether, like, I don't know how to go about questioning.
We could have someone...
the 15, because it says that 15 feet of the sidewalk needs to be removed, replaced, whatever, cracked. Is that 15 feet like kind of set in stone for sure? Like it's got to be 15 feet, and then what does that mean? Because I did notice something up there. It said something about driveway, and I was like, I thought this was just sidewalk.
I can have someone come out and show you, or I mean, if you're home during the day, or we can have someone come out and look at it. We have time before they're going to start.
Yeah, and then my other question was going to be, I mean, obviously it's not set in stone yet, but then like, kind of what's the time frame for it taking place?
It'd be sometime through May through July before the fair. We'd get started in May. They've got 560 properties to do, so they'll work their way around. I can't predict exactly when they'll be in front of your house, but
well, and that's kind of where I wasn't looking for like, these exact dates or anything like that, but I was just looking for like kind of rough estimate, only because like I know that a big situation just took place kind of in that same area regarding trees, and it took over 3 years to get a new tree. So I'm just trying to be cautious and careful about my property and, things that go into consideration regarding that.
Sure, yeah, it'll be between May and July. You'll get a letter before they start. You'll probably see them moving down the block, and you'll know that they're coming soon. And yeah, it should just take a few days in front of each property, and then they'll move on. So it's not a huge inconvenience.
Okay. Okie dokie,
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Rich Cieslak, 1545 South 92nd Street. and I too didn't get the corrected notice. It appears as though on my notice it says from Greenfield to Schlinger.
But you got an estimate.
I did get an estimate, and I think that it's way too low based on what you showed me up there.
It's way too
And
low. Okay.
The other thing, I took a
We don't hear that very
Don't hear
often.
that a lot.
well, I took a walk down my sidewalk. I looked at the ones you were referring to, and I could go to Menards and pick up some Quikrete for about $10, and I could patch it myself.
Well, we want something that's going to last for 20 years.
Are we required to do this? Do we have to?
I can have someone come out and look at it again with you, and you can go through each stone and decide if it's really necessary. We're trying to eliminate hazards, and
I mean, I agree. Those pictures that you had,
Right.
they were awful bad, but mine aren't even close to that.
okay,
And
we can look
I
at
don't
it
really
again.
deserve to be assessed for that. And I think that there are others that maybe need to be looked at too,
Okay.
in that regard.
Okay.
The other thing was, I'm a runner, and I usually run a route that's pretty close to the location you're talking about, that square area. I run down 92nd Street, I go down Schlinger, I go down 84th, and then I go down Greenfield a little bit back, and then I come back up. It's about a 3.1 mile route. I've been running for over 20 years, and I never fell. And I kind of think sometimes that when you're in regards, if they're bad, yeah, replace them. But in regards, people just have to just watch what they're doing, because it's awful expensive. And then people who really don't want to pay for these assessments that are getting taxed high enough already. I mean, my taxes have gone up since '99. I bought my house, $60 to $80 a year every year, and it only went down like twice. And one time when it went down, it was $2, and the other time it was like $30. And then next year it went back up again. And so I feel like we're getting taxed enough, and I don't know that I could see taking money and allotting some of it towards those sidewalks, but not as many as you have. I think it would save the city a lot of money on that, and I want to make a little comment. It's off the issue, but I think there's other issues that are a little bit more important, I believe, and that is getting a handle on the drug houses around here. I had about 5 of them just around within about a block and a half, and I think there's one right up the block from me right now. And I think that some more city money ought to be allotted for the police department, because they're doing a fabulous and fantastic job. And so that's what I believe on that. And then also maybe as another caveat, look at some of the timing of the lights in West Allis, and they are really long. And
All right,
and
so I have to keep you on track here for the agenda item.
Okay, I'm sorry, it's a little bit too long, but
Well, it's not timing, it's just topic. We're on
okay.
the public
So
hearing.
now you still have to vote on this sidewalk agenda.
Correct. Yes.
Too. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Do I have to sign back in?
Twice.
Yes.
You're good.
Okay, sorry, I just have one more question. What does the 50% mean? Does that mean that the city of West Allis pays 50% of the bill and we pay the other 50%?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. No worries. Any other questions or comments on this item from the audience? Okay, we will close public hearing number 1, and we will, I believe we're going to take items, or public hearings 2 and 3 together. So I will ask our clerk to read those out.
Okay. Number 2 is ordinance to amend the future land use map within the city's comprehensive plan, Chapter 10, Land Use, for the west 127 feet of the property located at 1828 South 76th Street, high-density residential to commercial land use classification. The balance of the east side of the same property to remain under the current land use designation of low-density residential. And item 3 is an ordinance to amend the official West Allis zoning map by rezoning the west 127 feet of the property located at 1828 South 76th Street from RB2 Residential District to C2 Neighborhood Commercial District. The balance of the east side of the same property to remain under the current zoning designation of RB2/Residence District.
Thank you. Mr. Stiebel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the clerk noted, there's 2 public hearings all in one. One has to do with the rezoning, the other one has to do with amending the comprehensive plan. We are required by state law to have a comprehensive plan that's consistent with our zoning, and that's why we're amending the comprehensive plan as well. On this property on 76th Street that many people recognize driving over the hill there, it's been an industrial commercial use since it was built 40, 50 years ago. It's about 1/10 of an acre. It's 2 levels. There's actually a 2-story building here. It drops down, obviously, to about the level of where the library is in the back. The property was rezoned about 30 years ago from industrial to commercial, and it's continued to operate essentially as an industrial commercial building as a legal non-conforming use. Once that use is vacated for over a year, it loses its non-conforming use status, and that's what's happened here. It's been vacant for about 2 years. And that's the purpose of the rezoning. The owner of the building didn't realize that they would lose their exempt status, and now is asking for a rezoning. The current area here, the property is zoned RB2 residential. What they want to be able to do is to zone it commercial, similar to that land mass across the street. And also to amend the comprehensive plan to make it consistent with our comp plan to rezone the west side from high-density residential, which is about 14 units per acre and above, and low-density residential, which is about 9 or less. The owner had looked into renovating the property as a multifamily, as a fourplex, but the numbers just couldn't work out, and so they wanted to come back to try to continue its existing use. The Plan Commission has reviewed this recommendation, and they've recommended that the rezoning be for the west half only and to keep the east half as residential, and to amend the comprehensive plan very similar to adopt a comprehensive plan for the west side as commercial, and then keep the east side as low-density residential. We've only received one comment to date, and that was concerning traffic and business parking areas and hours of operation, particularly since it's been vacant for 2 years. I'm not surprised. If you have any additional questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any questions from the Common Council?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Weigel?
John, so at this point, we're not talking about any specific use going in there. I mean, you quickly showed on the screen real estate agent possibly or something else like that.
I'm not sure if any of those that were noted on the screen when it was presented to the Plan Commission are still viable options, so it could be any of those or all of those.
Okay, so, and in the C2, if a business was going to go in there that was going to have a big impact on the neighborhood, it would very likely require a special use permit, in which case there'd be a public hearing, and we'd have a chance to talk to the new business operator and put some restrictions on as far as nighttime deliveries and the number of trucks and all that kind of stuff, correct?
Generally, you'd be correct if it was going to be that kind of a use, like a restaurant or mixed uses, that sort of thing.
And as I think as you did mention this, I just wanted people to understand that if the building would have sold within a year and a new applicant would have come in, they would have essentially been grandfathered. So this is really just a matter of timing for this property owner about getting it rezoned.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from the council?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman May?
John, this would require us to split a piece of property and zone one half the property one way and the other approximate half another way. Is that's allowed?
It is allowed. It's probably not the most desirable. The staff recommended to the Plan Commission to keep it one zoning district. The Plan Commission, and I think with certain amount of reasonableness, decided to go with 2. The comprehensive plan has it split zoned, so it's not totally inconsistent.
No, I imagine the
But not
comprehensive
preferred.
plan, though, probably envisions this being split into 2 properties someday, whereas our zoning code should be consistent and probably zone it one way or the other. Are we requiring them to split the property with a CSM?
It would probably not be split with the CSM because the RB2 area provides for the parking of the property, and if they were to sell that off, they wouldn't have any parking for the building portion of it. So I doubt we'd ever see that split off unless something else dramatic happened, like demolition or something else.
Which leads to my next question then, if this becomes commercial in the front, and it does stay one property with split zoning, the back half, would it be allowed to have commercial type use on it as well? Or are you saying just a parking lot?
Parking lot. The commercial use can, any commercial use can extend into a residential area, I think up to 80 feet for parking. It's called a transitional use.
Which would get into that question that came in from the resident today about parking. Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, are there any questions from the members of the audience? Okay, seeing none, we will close public hearings 2 and 3. And we will move on to item E on our agendas, which is citizen participation. This is the opportunity for residents to address the council on matters of interest to them. We ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes. We also ask that you again give us your name and address for our official record. Is there anybody that wishes to address the council under citizen participation?
John Arndt, 1653 South 61st Street. My concern is the snow plowing and lack of enforcing illegal parked cars, which results in poor plowing. This has been an issue for many years that I've been a homeowner there, and it seems to never get resolved. Wondering, is that just going to keep going, or is there something we're going to do about it, Vince?
Yeah, we can answer.
No, Alderman, I got this.
I mean,
because this is not agendized on specific topics, we can't engage in dialogue at this point. We can only listen to your concerns and talk to you at recess, probably, because it's not technically on the agenda.
What time is the recess?
Can't give you an exact time, but it would probably be 5 to 10 minutes.
From now?
Yeah, depending on how many participants under citizen participation we have.
All right, where does that take place?
Well, the recess meetings are out there, but you can talk to us in the common areas
Okay.
on our way.
Right, thanks.
Okay,
I'll
thank
talk
you.
to you, John.
Continuing citizen participation, is there anybody else that wishes to address the council?
Rich Cieslak, 1545 South 92nd Street. And I felt that the snow plowers, they do an excellent job. And but I had only one time I live on a corner lot. Only one time in 20 years, they plow in the whole corner, and I'm required to shovel that whole thing. First year when I bought my house, they had almost a record snowfall, 50 inches. And when you get heavy snowfalls like that, that piles up on the corner because of the plowing, and it's not any fault of the plow driver. But I'm wondering if there's a way to get more bobcats out there to take a scoop off of each corner to help out the residents in terms of their shoveling when it's a heavy snow like that. Because you know, I myself do, I work for part-time for a property management company, and I do 4 8-family apartment buildings in Pewaukee. And the plow guys out there do too good of a job, and they do it too fast. And when they go down the road, when they go too fast, everything slings over the bank and onto the sidewalk. And when I got 2 inches of snow, I got 12. Mm-hmm. And I got long stretches of sidewalk to do. And so it becomes a, you know, it's kind of almost a public service for, I think, to shovel out fire hydrants. That's always been not a requirement, I think, of the city, but it's always been a benevolence of the people. But then when you get so much snow and you don't have any help, it gets to be way too much, and you're paying taxes every year on that. And so my request would be, I don't know, to look into maybe getting more bobcats out there just to get the corners after they're done plowing, and take a shovel out and take care of that. And maybe a few of the fire hydrants too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Rebecca Wade, 1547 South 93rd Street. I would just like it brought to the, and I understand you guys can't answer me, but I'd like some notice, or I understand that, you know, that we're taking care of the sidewalks, but also I'd like to know maybe like the curb line, because there's a lot of damage to the curb line on my street as well as the street. I know that the street is sometimes, like, the cracks are filled in with asphalt, but then when there's like big chunks of concrete missing, like on the curb line and things like that, maybe that's not considered a priority because people don't walk along the curb line, but then that makes it very difficult in snow plowing and things like that. So.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council under citizen participation? Seeing none, we will close citizen participation. And item F on our agenda this evening, it will be the announcement of our standing committees. They will be meeting during recess. The room numbers are listed on page 2 of your agendas. I do not have a mayor's report this evening. Do we have any reports from the alderpersons?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Weigel.
You're not going to talk about coffee this morning?
No.
Okay. Well, the mayor hosted a coffee with the mayor this morning at Urban Joe's. It was pretty well attended as usual, and interesting conversations. I was going to mention that 2 weeks ago we talked about the Fairview Park Neighborhood Association having a meeting that was planned for this week originally. It's been rescheduled to Thursday, March 7th, 6:30 p.m., and it will be a half a block from here at Benno's Genuine Bar and Grill in the front room. The Fairview Park Neighborhood Association is one of our newer associations, and it's bounded by the northern city limits on the north, 77th Street on the west, 71st Street on the east, and Greenfield Avenue. It actually goes back to the alley because it includes all the downtown too. So if you're a resident in that area or a business owner in the downtown, that meeting is now Thursday, March 7th at 6:30 p.m. at Benno's. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other alderpersons' reports this evening?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move for approval of minutes of the Common Council regular meeting of February 5th, 2019.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any amendments or adjustments to the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Item J, I'll ask a motion for to place item 5 on file and refer items 6 and 7 to the city attorney for legal advice.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Weigel, second by Alderperson Ranke. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meeting.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in recess.